Support for Michigan Public comes from the University of Michigan's Look to Michigan campaign, working towards a stronger, more connected Michigan, championing sustainability, global citizenship, and educational opportunity. More information at looktomichigan.umich.edu.
Picture this, Michigander. You're walking through Myers. Yes, Myers with an S. And you're looking at the milk cooler, eyeing that 2%. But there's another person in front of you who's really taking their sweet time looking at the same cooler. You're on a tight schedule. You need to get the milk and get home. So, what do you say? I bet you step forward, lean in, edging slightly in front of the slow milk buyer, reach for that handle, and say in your best Michigan nice voice, "Oh, excuse me, just gonna sneak in here and grab some milk." Ope! That's right. The word that has snuck right past us for long enough that it's become a social media obsession among Michiganders and Wisconsinites alike.
You might be from the Midwest if when you bump into something or someone and you say, "Ope."
Tell me about it.
Well, the guy says "ope" back to me at the same time I says "ope."
Oh no.
I actually do have a Michigan accent.
Really?
Also, yeah.
What's your favorite Michigan word?
Probably "ope."
It's a word that many of us are familiar with. We use it when we accidentally bump into someone at the store or when we drop something to let them know we need to get around them. But what does it mean? That's what listener Earl Johnston has been wondering all along.
Hi, my name's Earl. I'm 65 years old. I was born in Highland Park and grew up in Dearborn Heights. Currently living in Ypsilanti Township. During your promotion, you used the word "ope" as it's, used in Michigan, claiming it's a common vernacular to Michigan. I've never heard of it. I imagine its origin is in "oops." I would just like to know where "ope" came about and where it's used. Is it predominantly Michigan or is it a Midwest thing?
This is On Hand, a podcast that answers all your questions about our unique state. I'm April Baer. Today, it's all about the ope. Yes, ope. Ope. Where does it come from? Can we lay claim to its origins in Michigan? And is ope even a real thing? To help answer that, we're bringing in producer Michelle Jokish-Polo, who spent months trying to track down the origins of ope. Hi, Michelle.
Hi, Bear.
All right, so what do you have for us?
So, to answer Earl's question, I wanted to start back at the very beginning, back to the place where we first learned about words, how to read and how to write. Inside a kindergarten classroom, right?
Right.
Okay, friends, we have a little bit of a different schedule today, okay? So let's go over it.
A classroom like the ones I went to as a kid, full of Spanish speakers learning English. And it just so happens that that kind of classroom is practically in my backyard at Grand Rapids Public Schools.
We are going to be with the Michigan Public Radio. Isn't that exciting? And that's Michelle. Can you say hi, Michelle?
Hi, Michelle.
So listen,
Hi.
friends, we need to be kind.
So I visited the kindergarten classroom of Miss Katie Howell at Buchanan Elementary School in the Grand Rapids Public School District. And I brought a children's book with me.
Okay, our story is called Ope. Can you say Ope?
Ope.
Ope. I wonder what this is about.
Bubblegum.
By Ian Fleming, illustrated by Yana Karpenko. Ope.
And this book features 8 different animals who find themselves in a variety of surprising situations, including an elephant who steps on his own trunk.
Elephant was walking on the hot, dry ground, its trunk swinging round like a rope. But as he slunk, he tripped on his trunk, then let out a wobbly ope. Can you say ope?
Ope.
Good job. I love how you're listening quietly.
This was for many of the students the first time they got to intentionally talk about the word ope.
Hippo was preparing to take a warm bath in the lake with a fresh bar of soap.
Soap to wash.
But when she stepped off the land it slipped off her hands and plopped into the water. Oop. What did she say? Oh. Oh. Have you ever accidentally dropped something?
No.
I have. I drop stuff all the time. Maybe I'm like cooking and I accidentally drop something
Like
and I'm
an
like,
egg?
oh. Oh, I hope not an egg. But maybe.
Yeah.
And Michelle, what happened after the story? Did the little kids understand the word ope? Was it something that they used?
Well, I did decide to ask one of the students in the classroom.
My name is Anseli, and I am 5 years old.
And when do you say ope?
When I fell down on my scooter.
And what did you say?
Ope.
And will you start saying ope at home?
Only if I drop something or I don't like something.
It was very funny teaching that to them and kind of showing them that book, because I think a lot of them maybe say it and they don't realize they're saying it, or some of them, like their families, just don't say it as much, so it might have been new to them. But I definitely think I could tell which ones, like, oh, they say this at home, and then, okay, some of them maybe don't. But it was really funny to kind of see, like, their reactions and see them have fun with the book.
And Katie, when did you first learn about the word ope?
I've actually more heard like my grandparents say ope a lot, especially I have a lot of family from northern Michigan, so I've definitely heard them say ope before, and I've probably said it myself as I'm accidentally dropping things and misplacing things. So me and my family, being a very Midwestern family, have definitely said ope a lot.
So is that it? Is ope a northern Michigan thing? Is that where it came from?
Well, there's actually more to it than that. We're going to talk to somebody who has been looking into the words Michiganders use and how.
There's some conflicting theories about actually where ope comes from. So one theory is that it came from Norwegian immigrants to the sort of Minnesota, Wisconsin area, and then that spread.
We are going to meet this word expert after we take a short break. Hey friend, April Bear here, and I want to tell you about Points North. It's a podcast that's all about the Great Lakes region. These episodes, they are like movies for your ears. They tell stories such as the one-time Congress designated Lake Champlain in Vermont as the 6th Great Lake.
To add a little lake that's 1/16 the size of the smallest Great Lake is just crazy.
Hear that story and more when you subscribe to Points North. You'll find it any place you listen to podcasts. I'm April Bear. You showed up during our end-of-year fundraising, and it matters. Thanks for supporting reliable news and staying connected in 2026 and beyond. Does everyone in Michigan say ope? And if so, how did Wisconsin and Minnesota get in on the act too? Is there some unspoken Midwest rulebook we're all following? These are recordings of Michigan Diarists, a project out of Michigan State University that documents changes in the lives and language of people living all over the state.
The ope, excuse me, I think it was like 5 years ago that I learned that was like a regional thing. That's just, you're in the grocery store, it's just like, oh, excuse me. I thought everyone did that. Does everyone not do that? Apparently it's a Midwest thing. I don't know.
I tell my students that we as Michiganders have a tendency to say ope when something has gone wrong at a minor scale. And I'll tell them that I'm guilty of it too, that I do it all the time and they just never notice it. And what it does is it makes my students very hypersensitive to the word ope for either the rest of the school day or the rest of the week.
Folks of all ages send the researchers at MSU's Sociology Sociolinguistics Lab audio diaries, things they recorded on their phones or other devices. This is one way head linguist Betsy Sneller is trying to understand some research questions about how and why language changes. So Betsy Sneller, welcome to On Hand. Thank you so much for talking to us about this.
Happy to be here.
So, is this a scholarly subject? Where ope comes from? Do you know who said it first?
Okay, great question to start off with. We don't know who said it first. It's been a feature of Midwest speech longer than Midwest speech has been being analyzed. It's been a staple of Midwest speech for as long as we've had Midwest speech.
Right. Well, when did people start using it as far as you're aware of?
People probably came over with it. There's some conflicting theories about actually where ope comes from. So one theory is that it came from Norwegian immigrants to the sort of Minnesota, Wisconsin area, and then that spread. Another theory is that it just became kind of like an alternate form of oops, which again also exists. Pan-American English oops exists, and ope is the theory is that it's just like an alternate pronunciation of the word oops. I think the Norwegian immigrant theory is probably a little bit more likely to be true, but there's not a word in Norwegian that is ope. And so this really does seem to be the case of an American regionalism that started here pretty shortly after immigration and sort of stayed strong as a marker of regional identity.
So do you have any sense of whether the way we use ope has changed?
When you talk to people about what the word ope means, usually they'll say something like, oh, it means like a small transgression, like, ope, gonna squeeze by you in the grocery store, right? Like it's like a little like attention getter to signal. It's kind of in the place of saying sorry.
And it's self-deprecating.
Yeah. But I was just looking in our Michigan Diaries corpus to see how speakers in the Diaries Project use ope. And a couple of our younger speakers, we also have tokens of them using it like a marker of, hey, I noticed something, and now I'm going to tell you it.
I'm going to see what is outside the window. Oh, it looks sunny and calm.
There's a possibility that ope is becoming sort of more neutral in valence, that it doesn't mean sorry or I'm about to bother you in some way, but rather just becoming a little bit more semantically neutral. It can mean bad things, or I'm about to say a bad thing, or it can mean I'm about to say a nice thing, like it's sunny in December.
The other thing that is so interesting to me about ope is just the P. If we said, oh, that's also seems rather Midwestern, but like not so specifically Midwestern. Do you have a sense of when the P got added to the O, creating the ope?
Well, so what you just said presupposes that ope derives from the word O, and I don't think that that's likely.
Oh, okay. Well, why not?
Well, because we still have O. And O and ope are used, they don't mean exactly the same thing. So it's unlikely that one became the other. It's rather more likely that O existed and ope existed.
Wait, but there's another question that I've always wondered about. I think of ope as being, it's true that young people say it, but I think it's very specific to auntie-aged ladies, which I am now one of. But do you think that do you notice anything about who says ope all the time?
So that's a great question. There is a distinction between who actually says a thing and who people think say the thing. So ope, most of the time when people think that a linguistic feature is connected to a specific demographic, it's because it started in that demographic. And so things like creaky voice, which normal people call vocal fry, they think that young women do it. That's no longer true. Men and women do vocal fry or creaky voice at the same rates, but it is a language change that started with young women. Now, in the sort of ideology of listeners, they think that vocal fry is a thing that young women do, even though that was true 50 years ago, but it's not really true anymore. It's everybody does it. So ope is one of these things where, like in our data, people of all ages say ope, which delights me to no end because it's like a very strong regionalism, and I live for regional specificity in language. I just love it. And so I'm delighted to hear that our teenage participants are still saying ope, that our kid participants are still saying ope. But you're exactly right that people think of ope as something that, like, your friendly auntie going grocery shopping is likely to do. Oh, let me just sneak past you. Oh, I gotta go. Oh, I gotta get the milk. I forgot. Whoops.
Betsy, do you think that there's a divide between people who are different races and whether they use ope at all or how they use it?
That is a really good question, and I would bet that there is. I would bet that generally white people are a little bit more likely to say ope, in part because African American English speakers, so Black speakers in Michigan, have this oop.
I crashed in my back seat for a couple of hours, and
So the sort of space where a white Michigander might be more likely to say ope, a Black Michigander has already a lexical item there, which is oop.
I did wonder about that. Have you ever noticed or heard of people who don't speak English as a first language using ope, like maybe Spanish speakers, like throwing it in?
Speakers who speak another language will, depending on their age of migration, if they're young enough, they're going to acquire the language of the community around them. So if you are a 5-year-old and your family just moved here from Mexico and you speak Spanish, but you go to a school where everybody is saying ope, you're absolutely going to learn ope. And you might even put ope into your native language as well. If you are a 5-year-old and you just moved here with your family, but you moved into a predominantly Spanish-speaking area, so you're not exposed to a lot of people saying ope, it's less likely that you'll pick it up. Now, having said that, ope is a really nice word because there are certain linguistic features that are easier to pick up and harder to pick up. Ope is one of these that is pretty easy for transplants to pick up because it's what's called a discourse marker. These are just easy to pick up and drop and learn new ones. And so it also makes ope a really nice way for, people who have not been in Michigan for generations and generations to still sort of claim that identity and say, like, no, I am a Michigander. I'm going to say, oh, can we move our car?
Betsy, I've never heard this phrase before of discourse markers, but I kind of feel like you gave me a sense already of what they are. Can you talk more about what discourse markers do? Like what function they serve in language?
Yeah. Okay, so this is actually like a huge topic. I could do a whole seminar on this, so buckle up. But yeah, so discourse markers are these little words that you can put into the sentence. Things like.
Like in Spanish, people might say claro.
Yeah, yep, exactly. On some level, they serve the purpose of just kind of filling a gap in the sentence. Sometimes it's like to signal I'm still talking. And sometimes, in the case of ope, it's like I'm about to tell you something a little interesting, or I'm about to apologize for you. There's some signal that whatever comes after the ope is going to be new information.
Well, Betsy, I don't know. What are your thoughts on ope? I mean, do you think it's important that it stays around?
I'm happy that it seems to be staying around, but I always also like to say when I talk to normal people about linguistic changes is that even if ope does go away, there's going to be other ways that Michiganders sort of signal our regional identity. So the idea of wanting to signal we're from here and we belong to this area, that's not going to go away. I think ope is not going away just because we've got lots of our younger speakers using it because it's a super useful word. It kind of carries this politeness, excuse meaning. But, language changes. So sometimes things enter the language, sometimes things exit the language. And I do my best to make peace with it, Like we don't say that things are rad anymore. And, sometimes that happens and it is what it is.
Betsy Sneller is co-director of MSU's Sociolinguistics Lab, and she is also the principal investigator on the super rad Michigan Diaries project, which you can participate in. All you have to do is search Michigan Diaries. It's super easy to find and very easy to use as well. Professor Sneller, thank you so much for your time. This has been super fun.
Very, very happy to talk to you.
And to our listener, Earl, thanks for asking this very important question. Michelle, thanks for helping us answer Earl's question.
Of course, no problem. And I wanted to tell you before we go that I went back to Betsy to ask her one important question I had.
Okay, Betsy, as someone who didn't grow up in Michigan, I'm from Ecuador. I learned English not in the U.S. and came here and heard people saying "ope" all the time. My question is, am I allowed to say "ope"?
Girl, yes. You live in Michigan. You are part of this community. You should feel free to ope your way as much as you want.
There you have it, Earl. Even though ope is not just a Michigan thing, it is something that many Michiganders use and say even when we don't realize that we are oping. It's just quietly part of who we are, like you can hear in Eminem's biggest hit from the movie 8 Mile.
Oh, there goes gravity. Oh, there goes gravity. Choke. He's so mad, but he won't give up. Daddies, he know.
What's your question about Michigan? This podcast is here solely to get answers to the things you want to know about our state. Any person, place, or thing that makes us quirky and different. Send us your question, and we might just investigate it on a future episode of On Hand. You can send questions in an email or a voice memo to onhand@michiganpublic.org. That's onhand@michiganpublic.org. Today's episode was produced by Michelle Jokish-Polo. Other producers are Mike Blank, Ronia Cabansag, and April Van Buren. Our senior producer is Mercedes Mejia, and our executive producer is Laura Weber-Davis. Digital services by Jody Westrick. Music for the pod came from Blue Dot Sessions and from Audio Network. Thanks for listening. Coming at you from the land of ope and dreams, I'm April Baer. Bye-bye.